Welcome to a world where mystery and magic reside, where the roots of legends stretch across time and harmonize with the pulse of reality. In this video, we invite you to embark on a journey with us to discover the story of a mysterious island that conceals secrets within its walls, secrets that no one dares to reveal. Prepare to explore a realm of fantasy and adventure, where the destinies of men and scholars intersect, and tales weave together worlds of courage and imagination. Before we begin this unique story, let us take a moment to reflect on the rich scent of history and the splendor of legends that will awaken the spirit of adventure within us. Listen closely and immerse yourself in this journey that will transport you to the heart of Darco Island's mysteries, where nothing is as it seems, and every word holds the key to a gateway into another world. Let us begin this enchanting tale together.
An ancient legend is told of a mysterious island off the coast of a country called Canaan. On the surface, the island, named Darco, appears like any other, yet beneath lies a secret unlike any other island. It enchants those who enter with its mystery and hidden enigmas. In our tale, the hero is a young man named Tim, in his mid-30s. Despite his age, he possesses an adventurous spirit that never rests, and a youthful curiosity that drives him to uncover the unknown. Tim is not an ordinary fisherman. He is famous for his shrewdness in trade and his intelligence, which have made him the center of attention at the fish market. He spends his days at sea, earning his living with skill, yet his eyes are always drawn to the horizon where the mysterious island Darco beckons. On one day charged with excitement, as the sun shone brightly and the streets of the town were crowded with people, the voices of vendors mingling with the lively hustle of the Canaan fish market, Tim appeared. Always composed in his usual manner, he wore clean, elegant clothes even amid the fishy aromas of the bustling market. He walked confidently, for everyone knew him not merely as a merchant, but as the proprietor of the market. His clientele were among the elite, and he never sold just any fish. He knew the true worth of his goods and took pride in their quality. While Tim was inspecting his merchandise, a man known for his immense wealth and close ties to the king and his entourage approached him. He stood before Tim and said, "Oh, Tim, give me all the fish you caught today. I need them all. I have come personally. I did not send any of my guards, for I know you would not part with such a quantity to just anyone, even if they were palace men. I trust in your honesty and know you do not cheat in your trade." Tim regarded the man for a long moment before replying, "And why do you need all these fish? What do you intend to do with them?" The man smiled and replied, "We are gathering this evening to discuss matters concerning the island of Darco. We want to send someone we trust to explore the island and reveal the secrets it hides. We believe there are riches that can be brought to our town. No one knows who inhabits that island, or even if its inhabitants resemble us. Perhaps they possess treasures beyond value." This conversation ignited the spark of curiosity within Tim, a curiosity he had long suppressed. He felt that the long-awaited opportunity had finally arrived, yet his face remained composed as ever. To the people of Canaan, Tim was a mysterious figure. Behind the merchant's facade lay a secret no one knew. His dignified manner was not solely the result of his success in the fish trade, but also of something he had never revealed. Everything people knew about him was exactly what he wanted them to know. In truth, his story went far deeper. Lost in thought, Tim heard the man say, "Would you like to join our meeting, Tim? We all know you are an adventurer at heart, leaving no mystery unexplored. But we wonder what has come over you lately. You have become unusually quiet, as if you have lost your passion for adventure." Smiling, Tim replied, "Wait for my answer, sir. I will consider it." The man answered, "Do not delay. We are in time is not on our side. With that, he took the fish Tim had prepared, placed the appropriate payment in Tim's hand, and strode away into the crowd, leaving Tim immersed in his own thoughts. On the other side of the sea, on the island of Darco, a place shrouded in mysterious clouds, stood the island's ruler, a man named Namk. Facing the island's inhabitants, no more than 1,000 in number, he raised his hand to speak. O people of Darco, for your own good, it is best that you remain distant from the outside world. We do not know what may come, nor do we need to know. We have what we need from the neighboring islands. Those islands are unlike us, but are stronger and more ready to face dangers. But we, our island, is weak and poor. We cannot face the challenges of the outside. Do not let curiosity lead you to ruin. It is better for us to live in peace, away from the troubles of the world. Namk finished his speech and turned away from the crowd. Yet, as soon as he did, a sly smile crept upon his face, a smile concealing deceit. Once again, he had deceived them with fabricated words, closing off the island and trapping its people behind walls built of lies and fear. The crowd dispersed after his speech. Some accepted his words without a second thought, convinced that the king knew what was best for the island. Others, however, began to doubt, questioning the truth hidden behind his calm facade. Among these doubters was a young woman named Salwa. Not an ordinary girl, her beauty was exceptional, and she was smart and curious, unafraid to confront the truth no matter how difficult. She whispered to herself, I will not let you deceive us. I will discover what you hide, and then you will see what fate awaits you. Believing herself to be weak, she turned and walked to her home, where her parents sat quietly as usual. As soon as she entered, she burst out in anger. Why did you not come to listen to the king's speech? Don't you want to know what is really happening? Are you content to spend your life without learning the truth about the outside world? Her father replied, Why do you wish to leave? O daughter, this is our island. We have seen no other since our king Namk and his family began ruling this land. What is there beyond that would make you long to leave? But Salwa could not bear their words. In a loud, angry tone, she retorted, You do not want to leave, nor do you want to learn the truth that the king hides from you. Tell me, what do you enjoy here? Do you like these chains? Do you accept these lies? With that, she abruptly turned, slammed her door, and sat on her bed, thinking of a way to escape from this cursed island. She could no longer tolerate the endless lies. She had to know the truth, no matter the cost. As night fell over the island, a heavy darkness blanketed Darco and silence reigned, as if the entire island had fallen into a deep slumber. The people of Darco lived under strange beliefs and fantastical ideas that King Namk had instilled in them over the years. They believed that despite their apparent poverty and weakness, their island possessed supernatural powers, thanks to the king and his mysterious abilities. To further isolate them, the king had ordered high walls to be built all around the island, with a large window facing the sea and guards posted at its openings day and night. For a long while, the inhabitants glimpsed a strange light emanating from a lamp-like device, as if the window were lit by flickering lamps. This made them wonder at times about the secret of these cities. Yet the king convinced them that the people in those lands were entirely different. They spoke strange languages and had features unlike theirs. He even went so far as to say that anyone who attempted to leave the island would face his wrath. And when someone was caught asking where this information about those cities came from, he would smile mysteriously and reply, I possess powers you cannot fathom. I know everything. Meanwhile, in a corner of the town of Canaan, Tim stood surrounded by the town's most prominent merchants and dignitaries. Despite the bustling noise of the market, his mind was far away, lost in his own thoughts. For Tim was not merely the skilled fish merchant everyone knew. He carried a much greater secret. He was not only a merchant or a fisherman, but also a brilliant scientist who had devoted half his life to knowledge and invention. He had spent many years studying natural phenomena and inventing devices that changed the face of the town, and perhaps even the world. But why had he chosen to live a simple life as a fish merchant? And why did he hide this side of himself? Within him lay an invention that could alter the course of events in Canaan and perhaps even influence the islands of the world. Yet this invention, on which he had labored for years, had vanished, or perhaps it was hidden in a place known to no one. Suddenly, Tim awoke from his reverie, as if realizing that if he were to succumb to painful memories of his father, grandfather, and the family he had lost, he would remain forever imprisoned by an inner confinement. He raised his head, looked around, and declared, "I want to embark on this adventure. I will uncover the secret of this island, whose only known feature is its closed walls and a ceiling that blocks the sky. But the question remains, how will I reach it? How can I bypass its guarded doors and scale its mighty walls?"
At that moment, the governor, a man known for his wisdom and restraint, heard of Tim's decision, and his heart filled with joy and astonishment. He had heard much about Tim's courage and intelligence, yet he never imagined that this adventurous spirit would now stand before him with such determination. The governor stepped forward and said, "All you need for this journey will be provided to you, Tim. We will supply you with a sturdy boat and enough provisions to ensure your safe passage. We trust you, but we ask of you not only an adventure. We require that you uncover the truth behind that mysterious king. How can an island whose people claim poverty possess such abundant wealth? We have received alarming information suggesting that King Namk of Darko secretly possesses another hidden island where he spends lavishly while the people of his own island suffer in poverty and fear. This information came from a guard who once was a brave fighter from our town, who joined the island after learning that the king was seeking men with special skills, offering them handsome wages and privileges that no one else received." Tim listened intently. He quickly agreed and said, "I will consider how to breach their defenses. But first I must contact this guard. I need to know every detail about their lives and their system. Precise information will be my weapon for entering and leaving safely." Tim was the heir of the Arman family, a family renowned for generations as one of the most prestigious scientific families in Canaan. They were naturally gifted scholars, endowed with an extraordinary ability to understand and innovate, with roots that ran deep into the town's history. Tim had inherited his passion for science from his father, yet he was never content with what he had learned. He was always in search of the secrets of physics. However, this pursuit was not without hardship. His ancestors and his father had created marvelous inventions, yet they always mysteriously vanished without explanation. This curse haunted the family from generation to generation. When Tim completed his latest invention, he thought he had finally broken the curse. He believed his invention was powerful enough to resist any attempt at theft or disappearance. But fate had another plan. His invention vanished suddenly without warning or trace. This event marked a turning point in Tim's life. From that day forward, he resolved to leave the life of a scientist behind and become a fish merchant, not out of love for commerce, but to find solitude that would give him time to think away from people. Although he proved his prowess in his new trade, his heart still bore the wound of what he had lost. He felt as though a part of himself was missing. That morning, Tim prepared for the journey. He gathered his tools, packed enough supplies for several days, and put his small bag of necessary instruments together. The next morning, though the sun was hidden behind thick clouds and the waves in the sea had grown fierce, Tim did not hesitate. He took his equipment, boarded his carefully prepared small boat, and pushed off toward the heart of the sea, heading for the mysterious island. For 3 days the boat was tossed by relentless, angry waves that lifted it high. Yet Tim's heart did not tremble. He was a descendant of the Armin family, a family unafraid of the sea or the land. Finally, Tim neared the island's gate. He saw it from afar, and a sense of wonder and amazement overwhelmed him. He had long admired its towering walls that seemed to touch the clouds. Now he was close enough to see details he had never imagined. A massive, black, imposing gate so high that Tim had to crane his neck to see its entirety. It appeared as though a wall separated two worlds, while the tall rampart encircling the island was adorned with golden lamps that emitted a soft glow. As he studied the scene, his attention was drawn to a single window in the middle of the wall. Despite the many other windows he had never noticed before, fortunately this window was open. Approaching it, he called out loudly, "Hey, guard! Will you allow me to enter?" Startled by the voice, the guard raised his sword and moved toward the large window to inspect who was approaching. When he looked at Tim in his calm demeanor, he demanded, "Who are you, sir? Where have you come from? And what do you want from our island?" Tim had to act quickly to reassure the guard. "I am Dr. Tim Armin. I have come from a nearby island. I heard that the physician of asceticism passed away, and I have come to offer my services. I love and respect your people, and I wish to serve you in this critical moment." The guard, named Bara, originally from Canaan, listened attentively. He recalled receiving a secret message from Canaan informing him that they would send someone in disguise as a doctor for a mission to capture the secret Za Tower, or Tel al-Za, a mysterious site, without being discovered. Bara hesitated for a moment as he stood by the window. Fortunately, he recognized that Tim was the guard sent from his hometown. In this island, it was customary that the main gate would not open unless the king himself stepped out, while those coming from neighboring islands entered through the main window after receiving the king's approval. With that, Tim was allowed in. He entered, carrying his meager belongings, his eyes darting around with irresistible curiosity. His only goal now was to uncover the secrets of this island. Inside, Tim soon approached Bara, who had become his companion on this dangerous journey, and inquired as he looked around, "Tell me, Bara, why is it so dark on the island, and why are there such high ceilings that prevent the sun's rays from coming through? How do you light these powerful lamps when the sun is shining outside?" Bara laughed softly and replied, "Oh, doctor, it is not the high ceilings that make the island dark. It is because this island is unlike the outside world and different from our town, Canaan. That is what sets us apart. Our king, Namk, possesses a supernatural power. He can turn night into day and day into night. In other words, while it is bright outside, on our island it is as dark as night, and the people here are asleep." Tim stood frozen, his mouth agape in astonishment. He could not believe what he was hearing. He knew that nothing in this world could turn night into day except for the device he himself had invented 5 years ago. Suddenly words burst from his lips in anger and disbelief. How can this be, Bara? There is nothing in this world that can convert night into day except my invention. Your king is a liar. That is my device, which disappeared from my home 15 years ago when I was just beginning my career. Where is the king's palace? I want it. I do not care about anything else." Before he could continue, Bara suddenly looked terrified, put his hand to his mouth and whispered, "Quiet, friend. We will be discovered and killed without mercy if anyone hears you now. The sun will never rise again. Come with me to my house. We will talk there. We cannot remain here. If anyone inquires about you, say that the king sent you immediately." As they hurried through the narrow alleys, Tim tried to contain his anger, though inside he was boiling. He had never imagined that his invention could be stolen in such a way, and worse, used to control people's lives, deceiving them. Everything that occupied his mind was one thought. He must reclaim his invention at all costs. But suddenly he stopped in his tracks and said to himself, "No, I will not run away. I will not let that thief live in peace from now on. This is not merely a theft. It is war. If he dared steal my invention, he must have committed other crimes against this island and perhaps other islands and lands. I will not let him go unpunished."
Lost in thought at the sound of Bara calling him, carrying a tray of food, Bara said, "Eat, Tim, and rest a little, then tell me, what is this invention you speak of? How was it stolen from you? Tell me so I can help you, my dear fellow from our hometown." Tim looked at Bara and said, "I will tell you everything. My name is Tim Arman, and I am not merely a fish merchant. I am a physicist, a scion of the Arman family, which has been renowned for generations for its contributions to science and invention. I hid among the fishermen so I could escape people and forget what happened to me. I began my scientific journey by inventing a device I named the solar lamp. I created it using sunlight and moonlight. This device can produce a beam of sunlight at night, turning night into day. It can also emit a dark beam that blocks the sun, making day as dark as night. I invented it for the benefit of the people. I wanted to create a source of light that would spare them from relying on oil lamps. My aim was never to deceive or control anyone. When I completed my invention, I was on the verge of presenting it to the research center in the great city, where it would be implemented on a large scale. But that night, after weeks of continuous work, fatigue overtook me, and I fell asleep beside my invention. When I awoke the next morning, I found it had vanished completely. It was as if the earth had swallowed it. Strangely enough, I was not the only one in my family to suffer this fate. My father, my grandfather, every member of the Arman family, who were all brilliant inventors, each created something that could change the world, faced the same mysterious disappearance. Their inventions vanished without explanation. My father died heartbroken, urging me, "Keep your knowledge, my son, and invent your own device. Do not let them take it from you, as they did mine." Despite his counsel, I could not prevent it. When my invention disappeared, it was as if my soul died. I lost my passion for innovation and felt as if a part of me was lost. And now I find myself on this strange island, where no one understands me, only to discover that my invention is in the hands of Namku, the cunning thief who uses it to control people's lives. I will not allow him to do that, nor will I let him exploit my efforts to enslave others. I will reclaim my invention and expose him to all. Bara listened, knowing that the task ahead would not be easy. Yet, his loyalty to his hometown and his newfound friendship with Tim compelled him to decide firmly. He placed his hand on Tim's shoulder and said, "Do not worry, my friend. I am with you every step of the way. I believe in you, for your passion burns brightly in your heart. I cannot stand by and let King Namk's deception continue." Before they had time to search further, a pause fell over them. They knew that if they were discovered, they would be killed without mercy. "We must move cautiously," Bara warned. "We cannot act while the king's men are about." With that, they decided to go home and talk further in private, as they were not safe on the streets. Soon, in the town of Canaan, Tim found himself standing behind a window at Bara's house, watching the streets of the island quietly. Bara had ordered him not to leave the house, no matter what happened, until the arrangements with the king were made. Bara promised that he would tell the king that a new doctor had arrived to help, and he would lie by saying he was a trusted friend. But before that could happen, Tim needed to remain unseen. At that moment, Salwa's eyes met his. She suddenly stopped and approached him. "Who are you? You are a stranger. What brought you here, and why are you standing at Bara's house?" Salwa's unexpected appearance created a problem for Tim. He hesitated for a moment, stammering, "I am a doctor. I have come here to treat the people of this island, but please, do not tell anyone of my presence." Salwa looked at him and smiled softly, her bright eyes shining. "Do not worry," she said. "I won't tell anyone, but on one condition." "What condition?" Tim asked. "You must teach me the art of medicine," she replied. "I want to learn something that will help me leave this cursed island. My dream is to reach the cities I have only ever imagined since childhood, and I cannot do that unless I have a trade to support me." Tim hesitated for a moment, but he could not refuse her request. He found no danger in it, as he could teach her the basics of medicine and how to treat simple illnesses using herbs. After agreeing, Tim nodded, and Salwa smiled and left, disappearing down the road. Tim then watched her until she was out of sight. Hours passed as he waited for Bara's return, thinking about everything that had happened, and about the mysterious Salwa. At last, Bara returned to the house. He said, "Tim, we are to go to the palace now. Bring the tools you gathered." Tim and Bara then went to King Namk's palace, a masterpiece reflecting splendor and majesty. The king greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome, doctor. I have heard of your skill. I will grant you a house next to Bara's, where you may reside, and you shall receive your salary every week so that you may live and purchase what you need. But there are clear conditions. Whenever you are needed, you must come immediately, and you must not speak of anything you see or hear. You must simply do your job. Do you agree to these terms?" Tim answered, "Yes, sir. I agree to all your conditions." After the meeting, Tim left with Bara and went to the new house that the king had allotted for him. As he sat and planned how he might sneak into the palace at night, he heard a light knock on the door. When he opened it, there stood Salwa, with her calm smile and bright eyes. Tim exclaimed in surprise, "How did you get here? I did not know your name." Salwa smiled and said, "I am Salwa, your companion from today onward. You can count on me to accompany you wherever you go and to help treat anyone in need, all in exchange for learning the trade, and I won't charge you a penny." Tim laughed at her spontaneous manner and said, "It's a deal, it's a deal." Not long after, a man came to Tim's house knocking urgently. "Doctor, you must come with me immediately. My father has fallen ill suddenly, and I do not know what ails him. We have heard of your skill from the people, and I have brought him with me. Let us go quickly to our home." Tim did not hesitate. He gathered his medical supplies and accompanied the man to his home. Upon arrival, they found the patient lying on his bed, his face pale, feverish, and trembling. Tim sat beside him, examined him carefully, then took an herb from his bag, boiled it in water, and said in a calm tone, "This remedy will help restore his strength and replace the food he has missed. His fever will subside. Do not worry, your father will be well soon." On the way back, Salwa looked at Tim with admiration and astonishment. "You have done well, doctor. It seems you truly know what you are doing." Tim smiled and thanked her for her kind words. Later that night, with the doors of the island locked, Tim and Bara sat in the new house planning their next move. Bara said, "I have arranged with the king's carriage driver. He will tell the king that he is unwell so that the king will believe you need to remain with him tonight. If his condition worsens, you will be at his side. This is your chance to enter the palace and move freely." Moments later, they heard a knock on Tim's door. Standing there was the king's carriage driver, his face looking pale and as if truly ill. "Doctor, you must come with me immediately. I feel extremely weak, and I have informed the king of my condition." Tim gathered his tools and followed the driver to the palace. As he entered, he heard a familiar voice next to him. He turned to see Salwa standing there, smiling playfully. "Come on, doctor. You didn't tell me you'd be here too," she teased. "I told you I'd be your companion from now on. Wherever you go, I will follow you." Both looked at each other as they accompanied the carriage driver, who was being wheeled away from his room, feigning illness. Once outside, after everyone had left the room, Salwa lowered her head slightly and approached Tim. In a barely audible whisper, she said, "That man is not truly sick, doctor. I know it well. Now you must tell me why you are here." Tim was taken aback by her sharp insight. He had never met anyone on this island with such perceptiveness. He motioned for her to follow him. They slipped out together through the corridors until they reached the palace foyer, where no one was watching. There, Tim began to recount his entire story, from his invention to his origins in Canaan, the homeland of science and trade, of which Salwa had never heard. He explained how he came to be here, and how he discovered that his invention had been stolen, and how King Namk was nothing but a deceiver who used science to control people's lives. Salwa listened intently, astonishment written on her face. Deep inside, she had always felt that there was a dangerous secret behind the king's actions, though she had never imagined it to be so vast. She knew in her heart that what was happening on their island was not natural. Looking at Tim, she said, "I will accompany you on this journey. I will help you retrieve your invention, but on one condition. Do not harm this island. Here live my parents, my friends. I do not want your revenge against King Namk to become our downfall." Tim replied, "I have not come here to harm anyone. I only want to reclaim my right and the honor of my family." As night deepened and calm fell over the island, Tim and Salwa, along with Bara, stealthily made their way through the palace corridors. Their footsteps were barely audible, and their hearts pounded with anticipation. When they reached one of the guards' rooms, they suddenly had to flee when a guard appeared. In their escape, they discovered an iron door hidden within a rocky wall adjacent to the palace. They pushed the door open and were astonished to find themselves in a tunnel leading to an underwater hidden city. like a secret world no one knew existed. They stood in awe as they looked around in wonder. On their right were large wooden chests. When they opened them, they found pearls and rare gems that could only come from the depths of the sea, the riches piled up in an almost unimaginable fashion. To their left, in a corner of the room, stood the solar lamp, Tim's invention, its light boldly reflecting over the entire island while simultaneously plunging it into darkness at will. But that wasn't all. Tim looked around and found other devices and inventions that were unfamiliar to him, yet their details suggested they belonged to the Armand family. It dawned on him that the theft had not been limited to his own invention. He wondered how these inventions had reached this place, how they had managed to cross the sea. Everything seemed illogical, as if they were in another world not governed by the laws of nature. Lost in his thoughts, Tim's eyes fell upon a glass door in a corner of the room. Behind it, there was another realm he could not see. Compelled, he reached for the door while holding Salwa's hand. She trembled with fear. "Come with me. We must find out what is happening here." The moment Tim touched the glass door, a strange sensation swept over him. Suddenly, they found themselves in a narrow underground passage. They advanced slowly until, at the very end, Tim was stunned, unable to believe what his eyes were seeing. They were standing in the middle of the Armand family's house in Canaan, a place that looked exactly as if everything had been frozen in time. Salwa screamed in terror. "What is this? Where are we? How did we cross the sea?" Tim, equally bewildered, had no answers. All these events seemed like a dream, yet they felt more real than they should be. Despite his shock, he knew he must return to learn the full truth. He could not let this mystery continue to dominate him. He took Salwa's hand once more and led her back along the passage. When they emerged, they found themselves once again in the dark room of the palace. But this time, something was different. A terrifying, strange presence filled the air. Then, in a deep, sonorous voice, a man spoke. "Tim Arman, my dear nephew." Tim was stunned. What do you mean?" he managed to ask. The speaker continued, "I am Namka Arman, your cousin. We were separated long ago after our great-grandfather was angered by your father's actions, which he deemed as devastation and plunder. Our grandfather believed that your father had exploited the gift bestowed upon our family, the ability to create portals that cross seas and eras unseen by anyone. But my father and grandfather used that power to build this island and to secure its underwater existence through secret doors that allowed us to return to Canaan and steal what we needed without being seen." Tim was aghast at the depth of hatred concealed behind Namku's words. Finally, Tim said, his voice trembling with both astonishment and indignation, "But I will not harm you, Namk. I have never wished you ill. Why all this enmity?" Namk sneered, "That is precisely why I decided to take your invention. You took my rightful place in everything, and you became the only scion of this family, even though I was born before you. I have always been the unseen shadow, while you were favored by everyone. That is why I stole your invention." Tim was overwhelmed with shock and disbelief. "I will not let you get away with this, Namk. I will not let you live in peace after what you have done." At that moment, Namk drew his weapon and pointed it at Tim. "Show me how you intend to leave here, Tim. It seems you are all alike. I was told by my father that our grandfather died and was buried here because he resisted my father, just as you now stand before me. Your fate will be the same as his." A heavy silence followed. Then a commanding voice rang out from behind Namk. It was Bara, the fighter, who pointed his own weapon at Namk's head. "Namk, Bara, how dare you threaten me? You are the finest fighter I have, and you swore loyalty to me. How can you betray me now?" Bara smiled and said, "Forgive me, your majesty, but my loyalty is built on trust, and that trust was with my friend and fellow townsman. I cannot betray him now, especially after learning of your heinous crimes and deceptions against the people of this island." He then turned to Tim and declared, "I stand with you, and I will not leave your side." Grateful for this support, Tim felt a surge of courage. He had not expected such steadfast backing. At the first light of dawn, after Tim managed to disable the solar lamp, the true rays of the sun began to filter onto the island for the first time in many years. The darkness that had shrouded the island dispersed, and the people awoke to the natural sunlight. They soon realized that something was amiss. King Namk was led, handcuffed, to the island's central square. the very square where he used to deliver his speeches from a raised wooden platform. But now, the speech was not his. It was the day of reckoning. The people of the island gathered in the square, whispering and murmuring among themselves, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. They could not fathom that the king they had long believed to be just and honest was nothing more than a deceiver exploiting them. Tim stepped up onto the platform and spoke in a loud, resounding voice. "O people of Darco, today is the day you learn the truth about your king, a truth that is neither honest nor sincere, as you have been led to believe. He has deceived you and confined you to this island as if you were prisoners while you thought you lived freely under your own sun and daylight. No longer are you different from any other people. From today on, the doors and windows shall be opened, and this ceiling that has blocked the sun's light shall be torn down. No longer will you live as impoverished subjects of false wealth, given empty promises by Namak, who claims that his goodness is for your benefit and to keep you safe. Today, you shall live as other peoples do, enjoying true daylight and prosperity." The crowd erupted in applause, grateful for their liberation from Namk's tyranny. As for the king, he was sentenced to exile from the island, to live out his days as a pariah, paying the price for his crimes and deceit. After order was restored, Tim turned to Salwa. His heart pounded with emotion as he gathered his courage and asked, "Salwa, will you join me on a small journey, a journey that begins and ends with you? Will you marry me?" Salwa could hardly believe her ears. She had been enamored with him since their first meeting. With bright, eager eyes, she raised them and said, "I agree. I agree with all my heart." And so they left the island together, returning to Canaan not only with the reclaimed solar lamp, but also with the inventions of his father and ancestors. From that day forward, Tim resolved to change the world using his knowledge and the legacy of his family. And thus, the story ends. The legend has come to a close. And so, we come to the end of our story, a tale filled with mystery and adventure. We hope you enjoyed our journey into the hidden secrets of Darco Island, uncovering new depths of courage and wisdom along the way. If you love this story, please subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave your comments below about what you enjoyed and what you'd like to see in our future tales. Thank you for watching, and until next time, join us for another adventure that transports you to realms of magic and history,